And so as I stated that the chosen fast is just as important to know what's not a chosen fast. And the formal fast is not what God is requiring to do it for religion. It's the left click. She's kind of off opposite.
She kind of off. Did you hear that?
But the other one is I said it's a cover up. It's based on trickery. You're fasting to lose weight. You're fasting for sinful behavior. Oh, I've done this sin. Maybe if I fast, I'll get in God's favor. That is not a reason to fast. You don't fast because you've done something wrong and you want to cover up your behavior. If you've done something wrong, repent. Yes, Late.
I was sitting with this guy and he was talking about how people were fasting, like which would be a wrong way to add, but they were fasting for possessions. They were just like it was like God is some kind of crystal ball, and if you fast and pray, you'll get what you want based on, that kind of crap.
Right, that's the economic gain. That's that fast. You're fasting so that you can get what you need. You're getting what you want financially. It's all about you. That's an economic gain fast for treasury. You're not really trusting God, but you're trusting money. You're fasting so that you can get money, not God. That is another reason not to fast. That's not the fast that God has chosen.
I didn't even know that existed, such a thing, until he was sitting there telling me that.
Right.
2 Sundays ago.
Right. People do that. That's why I'm putting this out there, so that you know reasons why people sometimes fast and you think they're doing this good thing and they don't have the right heart in the fast. And so it's really important to not only to know why you are fasting, but also know why you're not. Idolatry is another one. The Pharisees and Sadducees were like really pompous and saying, oh, I'm doing this fast. It's an outward thing. It's not really for an inward change. It's idolatry. People fast for idolatrous reasons because they want to think that they're good and that they have everything going on. Cassie, can you monitor the chats? So, and if there's a question there, kind of let me know at any particular time.
Okay.
Thank you.
To be seen well, that's what it says.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people do fast to be seen. And that goes to the point where a lot of people will say, and I'll get to it later, but since it just kind of came up about being seen, is I'm doing a fast. I can't tell you that I'm doing a fast because I'm supposed to do it in secret. Don't get religious about saying or not saying if you're fasting or not. Just tell people you don't want to eat. You don't have to necessarily, I can't eat cake right now because I'm fasting. I just don't want cake right now, and just leave it. If they ask you and they push you, well, I'm fasting on Fridays. I'm only doing liquids. And it wasn't to be pompous. It was because people are pushing you and they just want you to join in on the food, and you're saying, no, this is why I'm not going. And people generally honor that. They don't usually look at you like, oh man, you're just a religious nut fasting. No, they usually honor that. But when you're doing it out of a pompous thing, that's when it becomes idolatry. That's when it becomes a trap to others, because they see that you're this religious person and you're doing this religious act. They want to be like you. And so therefore they try to fast and they're like, oh man, I can't even fast for a day. And they're fasting for 10 days. It's not about that. That's the wrong heart. So all of these are wrong reasons to fast. This is not the fast that God has chosen for us. When you're breaking your fast, that's going to be another thing. This is going to come from the glossary in that book. It's still appendix 2, but it's a glossary. And so these are ways that talked about breaking the fast. Break fast is what it talks about in John 20, 21 and 12. That's what the breaking of a fast was. Breakfast is breaking the fast at nighttime. Unless you're one of those get up in the middle of the night and eat. Generally speaking, when you go to bed, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever, your body is fasting and regenerating, and you break the fast at breakfast time. That's what that was for. The breaking of the fast, or the break fast, was an opening of your spiritual eyes. If you read John 12:21-12, you'll find that's when Jesus was sitting by the water, when the apostles went back to fishing because they were frustrated with their life, or not knowing what they're going to do. So they kind of fell back into their old lifestyle. They saw this person on the banks, and he says, come have fish, come have breakfast with me. And their eyes were open. At that breakfast time, their eyes were open. They were afraid to ask like who it was, but Jesus, during that break fast, their eyes were open. And so when you break a fast, that should be one of the outcomes. Your spiritual eyes should be open. You should see things you've never recognized before, you've never seen before. For as desperate as your eye, as the vision or the strategy that you have is as desperate as your fast should be. The most desperate fast, of course, is a 40-day fast, and particularly liquids is pretty desperate. You know, that is a pretty desperate life change fast. And your fast should be according to your desperation or according to what God tells you. I mean, I wouldn't recommend a 40-day fast unless you confirm that with God, particularly a liquid fast. Because that's, you know, that's pretty that's pretty amazing. I think I've done a liquid fast, 40-day liquid fast twice in my life. And so that was, I was in a desperate situation and desperately needed an answer for God, and God definitely opened my eyes to many things. When you think about the 40-day fast, the first fast mentioned in the Bible was Moses at Mount Sinai. That was the first 40-day fast, desperate for his eyes to be opened. The law was given. I'll talk about that later. But anyway, the chosen fast, break fast, commissioning during that same time. This is when Peter, he told Peter, feed my lambs, you know, if you love me, feed my lambs. That's in John 21:15 through 17. So a commissioning happens in the fast. And the reason why I did that 40-day fast, because I wanted to know what God wanted with my life. I was desperate to find out. I surrendered all my positions in every ministry that I was in my church. I left the church that I was in. I was desperate. That first Sunday when I didn't have church, I didn't have a ministry, I didn't have anything. I didn't have prison, I had nothing. I felt so lost because I didn't know who I was. And so I needed God to give me a commission. And I wrote down specific things, and we'll go over strategic fasting next week, because I wanted my commission. I wanted to know what God wanted out of my life. I didn't want him just to be floundering, because if you're floundering life, you'll be going all over the place. God has a purpose and a destiny for our life. And if you don't know the God-given purpose that you have, you will flounder. And so out of a fast will be a commissioning. Feed my lambs. You know, that's what he told me when he told me to do KBI, feed my lambs. I don't want to. Do you love me? You know, I love you. Feed my sheep. I'm like, oh no, you know? So 3 times he asked me that before I gave in and said yes to KBI, because it's different feeding lambs than it is raising soldiers. Total different skill set to be a shepherd than it is a general. It's total 2 different skill sets. And I didn't really want to be a shepherd. I didn't really want to be a general either, but it is what it is. The next breakthrough you have is restoration. Frustration these disciples, out of frustration, they went back to their familiar surroundings, but they were forgiven, they were restored, and they were called. That's what's going to happen in a fast. If you fast for a brokenness of heart, repenting from things that you've done, you should leave that fast. You should break that fast knowing that you've been forgiven, you've been restored, and you've been called for more, that's going to be an outcome from your break, from your fast. So when you break your fast, you should feel restored. You should have a sense of being, having a restoration in your life. Things that were lost, things that were stolen, you should get your stuff back. If you don't feel that after a fast, I mean, after this last fast that we just did, the 10 days or whatever that Wendy did, I just remember going home and just weeping because God was faithful. He was faithful, which led to the last one, celebration. Celebration for intercession and atonement. You break your fast by celebrating. I just celebrated and worshiped God because not only was one point met, every point on our fast was satisfied. It was 10 points, and one of the points had 3 points on them. One of the things I told them when we were in Oklahoma, I thought I messed up when we were in some Perkins restaurant, and we were talking to the waitress, and I asked her who she was, and I said, man, I didn't find out if she was saved. I know she left the Mormon church, but I didn't find out if she was saved. And I was so distraught. I said, man, did I lose do we lose our soul? Because one of the things is we would seek and save the lost. At least one person would be saved. And I was so distraught that night. And, Wendy and Therese was trying to, cheering me up. And that night, Cassie texted me and she said, guess what? I don't know, 4, she had saved 4, or I don't know how many souls she had sent, but I didn't think about it when she texted me, but later that morning, God said, this is a team fast. What one does, it's all of us doing. So I said, oh my gosh, I went and told Teresa and Wendy, I said, we did it. Cassie got this one. She got 4, whatever many souls she had during that fast. And I said, so we got that check through Cassie. And I was just so happy. Why was I happy? Because we prayed and fasted over that fast. And if we don't hit the mark, it breaks my heart. I want every point to be made. And if it's not, I'm asking God, what did we do wrong? And so I was celebrating when she gave me that text. I was celebrating that I don't have to do everything. I and Teresa and the team that's abroad, we didn't have to do anything because it was a team effort. Everyone that was fasting in KBI, everyone was doing this. And so that just brought joy to my heart to know that we didn't have to, when we're in country, do everything, that there's a team back here that's still working that fast, and God honored it. And man, Cassie, you just don't know how happy that made me feel. You can ask Wendy or Teresa how it was like, I was like stoked. It was just like, I hate missing the mark. I hate missing the mark for God. If God says, and we pray and we see that this is what God is doing, Teresa and Wendy, every night we would debrief. Yeah, we can check that off. Even to the point where a shepherd was going to be loving his sheep. We had a pastor that hated God. And that was a point that we would find that person. And we found the person. And she repented. And she not only repented to God, but she repented to her leader because it was beautiful. And we were just checking the things off. It was just awesome that God answered. He answered every one of those points. That's why you celebrate. Because if you're watching over the word and you're watching over that fast like we were doing, we don't just put out a strategic fast and just figure out, oh, well, whatever happens. No, we were looking over it. And I remember when I was praying deliverance prayer, I was saying to Wendy, I tapped Wendy on the shoulder, I'm doing deliverance prayer. And Wendy's like, oh, what are you thinking I'm crazy?
That's right. That was the shepherd. Yes, I do remember.
Remember
Yeah.
that?
At first I was like, what?
You were just trying to get a breakthrough from heaven and you wondering why I'm hitting you. But it was beautiful because we were watching over that word for God to perform it. And when he did, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. That's why you celebrate. But breaking your fast, ethics in fasting, ethics in fasting. You have to fast by integrity and character growth. This one really is talking about you're fasting because you're keeping your word. You have your characters at stake. You're not fasting. If I'm fasting, I'm not doing it and sneaking behind the corner so Lyle doesn't see me sneaking a cookie. If I say I'm not eating cookies, so what? Lyle doesn't see me. God sees me. The fact in fasting is your character and your integrity is at stake because God sees. God knows the vow that you made. And when you break your fast during your fasting, you're broken your vow. You've broken your oath to abstain from, or whatever you're doing. And when you fall back on that, now I'm not going to say get religious. Sometimes things happen, but just understand that your character is at stake. And many times we flippantly say, oh man, I just messed up on that fast. Oh, well, I'll get the next one. We don't understand that God sees our flippant attitude. Fasting is really about the ethics that we have, that we're going to be of character, and it grows our character, because if we give our word that we're going to do a 10-day fast, we're going to do a 10-day fast and we're going to stick to it. That is the ethics of fasting. Will you do in the face of God what you said you were going to do? I remember we were at a restaurant and I was fasting, I don't know, whatever I was fasting, meats. And I'm in this restaurant, didn't know when we were going to eat, and I prayed and asked God, okay, what am I supposed to do? Do I not eat? I'm looking at the menu. What do you want me to do? And he changed it to instead of vegetables, I was supposed to not eat carbs. And he switched it up. This is the bottom line. He switched up the fast at that particular time. And so from that point on, I did the new fast. Did I feel guilty about it? I asked, I prayed. If he would have said, no, don't eat anything, I would have pushed the meal away. And so that's ethics. Ethics is not sticking to whatever you said. Ethics is, God, this is where I am. What do you want me to do? Include him in your decision making. Don't just make a choice because, oh, well, there's nothing else to eat, I'm just going to eat. No, include God, because in including God, he could sustain me so I didn't have to eat. He can do whatever he wants to do. But ethics is, and your character is saying, God, I want to seek you to do what you want me to do. And whatever he has said, that's what I would have done, because it's his fast, his chosen fast. And you can have a fast where you fast water for 3 days, and then you can fast carbs 3 days, and then you can fast meat 3 days. I mean, you can intertwine the fasting up. Bishop does that all the time.
That's generally, yeah, we do.
Yeah, and so there's no rigid rule, but the rule is seek God in what you're doing. First mentioned, I already told you that. The first mentioned fast was in Exodus when it talks about giving of the law. It was a 40-day fast when the law was given to Moses. That was the first fast. And then the history of fasting. It's a really good part in the book about the history behind fast. And it goes into self-denial. It shows you that fasting is in the Old and the New Testament. It talks about fasting is in revival, and fasting is done for intervention. And so it's a really good couple page write-up on the history of fasting in the older book. And then it also talks about the power of fasting. Prayer increases God's presence. When you're fasting, there's no quicker way to get into the presence of God. When you're wanting something and your body's screaming out and you know that you need strength, that's the time when you push in and you receive power from God, that you know he's real. I was telling oh my gosh, Shelly today, I was like I went blank about just the blessing that God was in Oklahoma, and really the whole time, where I know I believe God, because God moves supernatural. He even moved supernaturally on our bake class, and he's just been moving he's been doing things that I've never experienced me personally. Me personally, I've never prayed for someone's hands that were crooked and felt the bones cracking in my hands. And as the bones were cracking and I removed my hands, her fingers were straight. I've never experienced that before, me personally.
Where'd that happen?
In Oklahoma.
Really?
Never physically had that happen, but we had that happen personally.
Wow.
Where when I felt her hands cracking, I knew that God healed. I mean, it was
I want
just,
to do that.
I want to do that much, much more. But that just, the power of God that happens through fasting is the bottom line. Because of the corporate fast, there was power that was released in all the areas, from San Diego to the desert to Oklahoma to our bait conference. I mean, the power of God was real. And, it's speechless. It's so much stuff happened in this past 3 weeks that it's just amazing. The power of God is awesome. And even the bullet issue that happened with Latae and I the other day, and burning the witch stuff. I mean, that's even, like I told Latae, she's like, that is nothing to brag about, to have a demon shoot a bullet at you. I mean, I've never had that happen before. It's just, God is just supernatural in what he can do. I believe God. I'm hands down, I believe. I was weeping this afternoon because he's just amazing. He's amazing. Authority is the result of fasting. When you fast, the result will be you will receive spiritual authority. You cannot fast and not leave the fast with authority. Authority in the spiritual realm is just, it's just amazing. When you fast for, not just for things for you, but fasting for things in the nation or corporately, the thought of the power that comes and the authority that comes when you leave that fast, that you know that God has done something, is a result of fasting. Another result is an affirmation. You will know what to do, who you are, why you're doing it. He affirms himself during a fast. Like I said, that 40-day fast, I had goals that I had down, and he answered those goals. Some were yes, some were no. Out of that fast, he affirmed and gave me a spiritual father. That's where I got Apostle Tim out of that 40-day fast. He affirms things, but you have to ask questions. I was telling Lyle earlier that how do you know that you've reached a goal if you don't know what you're shooting for? God wants you to hit the mark. If he wants you to hit the mark, you don't think he's going to tell you what you're shooting at? How can you hit the mark? You can't hit a mark if you don't know what you're shooting for. God will tell you his mark, not our mark, but he affirms his mark. That's how come when I go somewhere, I'm asking God, what do you want me to do? What is success? What is the outcome? What do you want me to achieve? I'm asking those questions because I don't want to miss the mark. I don't want to just go and figure it out when I get there. I want to know what he wants out of this mission. And I'm dogged at at figuring out. That's why we do strategic fasts, because this is what we prayed, and this is what he said we're doing. And it's awesome. It's just an awesome affirmation. Yes.
Something that happened today. It was really hectic.
Can y'all hear her? Can y'all hear
No,
her? Yes,
I can't.
I don't have the microphone. So
It was,
speak up.
it was just really hectic.
Go ahead, speak up.
I can't.
Really hectic and crazy at work, and I noticed that in my attitude, because it was so hectic, kind of going south. So I prayed to the Holy Spirit for some clarity and
Can you hear her now?
I prayed for a sense of calm and a sense of peace and to calm my
Yes.
mind
Yeah.
and my spirit. And it was just like that. It just turned over like immediately. And I've been fasting, you know, for a long time during the day. And it's made a difference. I just wanted to add.
Mm-hmm.
But that sense of calm, I asked the Holy Spirit, and it was almost immediate. That, it's just like you just come down. It's just like your blood pressure comes down and you're on an even keel.
Mm-hmm. God will definitely, yeah, you can probably put it in the middle of the table. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got the big mic on now. We didn't have. Direction. Results from fasting is you get direction.
That's what I need.
Say more, Dave. What do you mean?
And I thought I was on mute.
Nope. You've been caught. Now explain.
Now, like I said, I'm tripping with my job and stuff like that. But I'm still having fun because Jerry was laying in the bed today. He just cussing out. Y'all just don't know. He just cussing. I can't get up. I can't get up. And I went in there. I got him up and took him a shower and stuff like that. So no matter what we think, God still has us a place for a reason and stuff like that. So it was a blessing for that. But the other things dealing with sort of like Cassie, no help and stuff like that, it's kind of hectic and stuff, but I know I'm there for a reason. So, but yeah, it was good.
He will definitely make his direction clear. And you want to make it his way or your way is really the clarifying point. Do you want to do what God says to do, or you don't? And when you don't, that means you're going your way, which is opposite of the way God's going. So the real question is that good enough for you that the direction you're going is away from God? That's okay with you? Then keep doing it. But if it's not okay with you, I would highly suggest you turn your tail around and get the way that God's going. Now, the way that God's going in the direction that he gives you, it can be very hard. It's not saying it's going to be easy. It's not saying it's not going to be without bumps. It's not going to be without trial. But God's way will always be the way. And you will always learn on God's ways. Every hard place that I've experienced going God's way, I've learned something from it. And it was not a waste. And so the results of a fast is you will have direction for your life. And so look over those fasts. And you now know the purpose of all of them. We just did a little of them, but now you have the full capacity, you have the full knowledge of these, at least these 9. There's other fasts that you can do. The book has so many other fasts in the appendices of the old book. It doesn't have the detail that the other ones have, but there's all sorts of fasts. I added one. I think Cassie had asked me for a fast. I forget what the fast she asked me to do, but I wrote that fast up and put that one in this book, and that'll be the next chapter. Revelation is going to be a result of the fast. God is going to reveal some things to you. God doesn't hide anything. So he's going to give you revelation on things when you're in a fast, why you do things the way you do, where you are, all these types of things. And you may not realize the magnitude of what he's telling you. And it may take you years. As you well know, I've been walking the word appetite for years. I did a fast for appetite and it was a 21-day fast for appetite. And every time I'm walking that revelation that he gives me, it's new and new and new and new every single time I don't have the fullness of it yet, but I know he'll give it to me. And it's been years since he gave me that word. I just don't understand it yet, but it's yet coming because he gives revelation after revelation. That's going to be a result of the fast. Another result of fasting is going to be a passion to pray. Through fasting, I think to this morning, I woke up at 6:30 and I purposed in my mind to pray in tongues for an hour. And I prayed for like 40, I don't know, it was short of an hour. And I'm like, man, couldn't do it for an hour. And I was, praying in tongues and praying in English, for 40 minutes, but I wanted to pray for an hour this morning in tongues and I missed it by like 10 minutes. So I'll go after it again until I can just constantly pray in tongues for an hour without interruption. That's my current passion that I have to do, because when you're praying in tongues, you're creating a world that you don't even know about because you don't even know what you're praying, but it's a spiritual discipline that happens and God is creating things in those tongues. And I'm gonna walk into that destiny and I won't even know that I prayed it. Bishop gave a couple of us a book in praying in tongues, Tongues of Fire it's called. And that's the same thing Al's teaching on tongues and the power of tongues. He's got a 10 series set on praying in tongues. And so they're both at the same place. And that's where I am. And so I know God is saying something to me because both of my leaders are talking about that. And so I got to get what he's saying in this. I got to get the revelation of what he's trying to teach me. But that's going to be a result of fasting. Passion to pray in English or in tongues, it doesn't really matter. Purpose is going to come out of a fast. God's purpose, not your purpose, but God's purpose. God's purpose is, you have to understand, is going to be greater than any problem that you're facing. And so don't face the problem, face the promise, because it's in that you will be enriched, be restored, and be renewed. Another result of fasting is power in warfare. I mean, when we pray and fast, spiritual warfare happens. Spiritual warfare, again, you learn from the Bait Conference that spiritual warfare is not deliverance. They're two separate principles. And so we need to understand the value of spiritual warfare and the power in spiritual warfare. We have to elevate our prayer life so that our prayers are offensive as well as defensive. But an offensive prayer is what spiritual warfare is. You can defend, but you have to take the offense. You have to push back darkness. That's really what spiritual warfare prayer is. It's active praying against the powers of darkness. And then liberty. You get freedom in fasting. You get freedom from problems, issues, heartaches, pain. I don't remember specifically, but I do know I prayed and fasted about two things that didn't happen instantly: smoking and drinking. Vodka was my drink and I'd smoke cigarettes. And my power and liberty through that fast was not instantaneous, but I do remember it happened suddenly. And it was just, I didn't even remember when I stopped. It was just that the taste sickened me. I can't even drink anymore because it just sickens me. And I think that's how he took the taste away, is it makes you sick. I mean, sometimes you get sick and you still do it, but I'm not that person. Well, that's not true, because I got cookies from Wendy and I ate them till I got sick. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll never do that. Why didn't I just stop at a cookie? I got 3 of them. Oh my gosh. And I was sick as a dog. I was like, I'll never do this again.
What, the sugar? What?
I don't know. My body wasn't used to having the sugar, I guess, and I just went over. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh.
I'm laughing because that's the reason I didn't have them in the first place.
Yeah, Wendy didn't have them in the first place in her house, and then she says, "Well, you should get two. You should get the peanut butter cookie. You should get this." And I'm like, "Okay." I couldn't stop at just one. I couldn't stop at one. It was Wendy's fault.
All right, I take responsibility.
What was that about, Anthony?
They go all out the window when it comes to cookies.
Chip.
Oh, it was chocolate chip with nuts,
Oh.
and it was warm.
Uh-oh.
So I think that the knocking the single one when it comes to chocolate chip cookies. Okay, I'm not even that down.
Forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. Ethics went out the window with chocolate chip cookies. It just went off the deep end. All right, back to results from fasting. Get off of my back. Victory over strongholds. Strongholds are things in our mind that we take as truth that are false. When we fast, we get victory over those strongholds. Many times we run into strongholds in our mind because we believe that that is the answer, but it's not the answer. And so we have to learn to run to God. He is a strong tower and the righteous run to him. But many times when we get fearful, we run into our strongholds, which are things that are in our mind and our imaginations in our mind that are not true, but we take them as true. When you fast, one of the results is that a mental stronghold will be broken, and you will get victory over those things. Protection from God is another one.
I like this picture, Apostle.
Yeah, I love that picture. I love that picture. That's how I feel, that I'm in the palm of God's hand. I think when we were praying on the first fruit call and Wendy was talking about God has this string and pulling us, this was the vision that I had. I don't want to be pulled on a string. I want to be right there. I want to be right in his hands. This is the vision I I don't want to, because a string was just, it's just too far. I want to be cupped right there where I can feel the heat of his palm of his hand, and just, that's my protection place. That is results of fasting, that you get that security and that protection. You also get the presence of God. That's going to be a result of fasting. You have to want the presence of God more than you want the presence of men. Many times we don't fast because of what other people will think or what they feel, but we have to care more about the presence of God than the things that man will provide. And then breaking habits, habits and change. You have to want the change in your life more than you want whatever it is that you're going up against. So that's all that I have for today. Short class. Read Appendix 2 in the book. Read Chapter 12 in the workbook on page whatever, 64, whatever it is. We will conclude by doing that. That's why you're going to do that homework assignment this week, because next week will be the last week, and we'll kind of do a summary over all of them. And choose the fast that you want. I have on the slide all 9 fasts. Choose one that you want. Work out with your battle buddies. Pray with your battle buddies. I want to hear, I'm going to stop my share, how we are doing with battle buddies. I know some people are not necessarily meeting with their battle buddies, but I want to hear how you are doing with your battle buddies. Who wants to kind of report? If you're not meeting with your battle buddies, let me know that, because that means that somebody's not being covered in prayer. Okay, I'll just go through. Wendy, how are you doing with your battle buddies? Wendy, you have quite a few battle buddies now. She picked up a couple battle buddies in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and we actually, the only one I haven't actually spoke to on the phone is Judy from Oklahoma. We've been texting one another and sending things back and forth, but not verbally talked on the phone. But otherwise, everybody else, we've been touching base and praying. So yes.
Good. How about Bianca? How's that going, Teresa, with Bianca?
I haven't contacted her since we've been back. She was on my mind to contact her today. I just haven't done it. So I will be texting her.
Yes, please do. She needs some support, prayer support.
Yes, I will make sure I touch bases with her.
Okay. You only have one person, Teresa?
No, I have Olivia too, and we've been missing each other.
Okay.
So I gotta touch bases with her too.
Okay, so how are you making out, Olivia? Anything going on there? How are you making out without having a buddy? Oh. Okay, so she might have stepped away. Cassie, how are you and Des doing?
Well, it was going really, really strong. And we kept trying to get together, but then, the weather changed and she didn't want to drive over the pass. And finances, we were both in a financial situation where we couldn't, just afford to get together like we wanted to. And like I said, the weather. And then we just kind of kept missing each other. And then she hit me up. I hit her up. I was like, dude, it's been like 3 weeks since we've even spoken. I said, so prayed, and then she'll be busy, I'll be busy. So it's a mutual mess up there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
God's still coming through. He's still honoring. But yeah, unfortunately.
It's really important to have that prayer partner. I'm prayer partner with several different people, and not on the team, but that prayer support really makes a difference in a person's life. And so really do try to make that connection. You will get things out of people's lives. I know Sharon is a battle buddy with several people. She's not in this class, but I've given her a couple different people. And just the connections with the people are enriching for both sides, right? You get to know people. I haven't been, okay. All right, I see that note. Oh, okay. Late, have you ever met up? I don't even know who your battle buddy is. I think it was Shelly, but Shelly's since got Pauline, I think. So Late, are you praying with anyone? Okay, so she's
I'm not praying with anyone at all, except for the group that I pray with almost every day on these Zoom calls, prayer / joke session / testimony / song service with the New Hope group.
yeah. Again, having a battle buddy. I know you had a battle buddy, but you guys didn't hook up, and so that's going to be important for you to connect with someone in KBI. I know you've had different ones at different times, and it hasn't really been beneficial for you for whatever
It hasn't been consistent on my behalf instead of you being nice to me.
I love you,
All righty then. What about you, Pauline? How have you been with your battle buddy?
I got other teams too, but Shelly and but we haven't got together since I've been back.
Okay. Yeah.
We talked. We did talk. Yeah.
Okay, that for KBI, we are a prayer ministry and we do spiritual warfare. And because of that, it's going to be important for us to stay covered. It's going to be important because you can be going through things and you think it's all about you, but it's really not. It's what you're under. And when you're under
Right.
a warfare ministry, you're going to take a hit because you're out of pocket and you won't even know why. You'll just think it's you. And so that's what that
Mhm.
buddying up does. How about David and Lyle? How are you? I think you guys do it right before your Bible study.
Yeah,
So,
we haven't actually physically met. Yeah, every Wednesday just before we spend an hour together before, and then we go straight into men's meeting.
mhm,
We do it every Wednesday.
yeah, that's good.
We're doing it on Mondays.
Right,
We keep a day subscription.
right, right. So that's still holding up. How, and the men's group is still holding up with the 4 of you guys, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. I
But
might
we
not.
got so good, Apostle, that I know when Lyle eating and he know when I'm cooking.
Huh?
Oh, you're cooking and like. Wow, you're good.
Yeah, that's good.
Charlene, who's your buddy?
Sherry, and it's been difficult. Kid problems, husband problems. I pray when I can catch up to her,
Okay,
but that's about it.
okay. Yeah, I think we're probably wrung out as far as giving you people to pray with. Maybe you and Shelley can pair up to pray. Also.
Yeah, because Sherry's in so many different things in her ministry, the ministry with Preaching in the Woods and all that, and then with other things, I just can't keep up with it.
Well, I gave you her because you both were in Freedom Session. I thought that would be conducive for the both of you since you have to connect with people in
Yeah.
Freedom Session. That's why I thought that would be a good match, but obviously not.
But I mean, when I can find her, we do pray and we do, talk, but she's just got a lot of irons in the fire. And
No, I know about irons.
well, we got irons.
Yeah.
7 iron.
Okay, did I miss anyone? All right, are there any questions, comments, or concerns about what we've heard?